new administration and a new president in the White House trying to put an end to the war.
I didn't know the historical context, what the state of Israel means for them.
Join the fearless Ireti Bakare-Yusuf on Borderline every Friday at 4 p.m. on Nigeria Info 99.3. As she dissects the biggest global events and their impact on world peace.
Those who are not familiar with Israel or the war itself would not know much about the group. Breaking the silence.
No spin, no propaganda, just deep insights and fearless conversations on the geopolitics shaping our world.
People who will call and start telling you about the Bible prophecy about America and everything. See, America is not in the Bible. There's some people who, yes, they share the ideology of, yes, we and these people, we are equal, but they can't speak up.
Borderlines on Nigeria Info every Friday at 4 p.m. The world is changing. Don't just watch, understand it. Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
And it's a good afternoon. Welcome to Borderlines, the only show that takes you beyond borders. Indeed, the only show that covers geopolitical issues every single week without fail from the global South perspective. So the last few weeks we've talked about Africa quite a bit, Congo, Burkina Faso, etc. Now, today, we are going beyond borders all the way to Israel. Indeed, to Gaza. My guest today is a friend of the house. We are streaming live on YouTube, Nigeria Info FM. We are also on Instagram, Nigeria Info FM Lagos, and on Twitter, at Nigeria Info FM Lagos. Indeed, you can put your messages on our Twitter platform, or you will be able to call 0201 277 0993 or 0201 465 7190, whilst you can also send your WhatsApp messages to 0809 597 5805. So my guest today, as I said, is His Excellency, the Israeli Ambassador to Nigeria, Ambassador Michael Freeman. Indeed, he's not new to the house, and you guys are not new to his voice. Ambassador Freeman is joining us from Abuja today, but unfortunately we can't do video, but he is with us in full voice, should I say. Ambassador Freeman, welcome. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yes, I can. We can now. We're good to go. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. Let's get to it. So, from the Israeli perspective, give us, from the last time we spoke, give us a kind of rundown synopsis from the Israeli perspective from then till now, please.
Well, the synopsis is very simple. Hamas are still holding 58 hostages. They're refusing to release them. They are still holding the Gaza and the Palestinian population there to hostage as well, and they are refusing to lay down their arms. They're continuing to insist on the right to have arms and to attack Israel again. And so from our perspective, the position is very clear. Release the hostages, lay down your arms, and the war is over. Hamas are refusing to do both of those things.
Okay, so it's been some 10 weeks or so since Israel began its blockade of Gaza. Why?
As I've said a number of occasions, and Israel is very clear on this. We believe there is food inside Gaza. We have not seen any evidence at this point of of a severe lack of food. And we've made it very, very clear that all the food and the humanitarian aid that was going in was being taken by Hamas and being used as a lifeline for Hamas to continue their war against us. They were taking significant proportions of that aid, they were selling it, and they were using it to fund their war machine.
Okay. Several international organizations disagree with you. The UN, Save the Children, UNICEF, Red Cross, Doctors Without Borders, IRC, World Food Programme, PCRF, MSF, Amnesty Human Rights Watch, B'Tselem, etc., etc. And it goes on and on. Indeed, Tom Fletcher, the UN relief chief, said today, or rather this week, at the United Nations, and I am going to play what he said so that my listeners can hear it.
Action we will tell future generations we each took to stop the 21st century atrocity to which we bear daily witness in Gaza. It is a question we will hear, sometimes incredulous, sometimes furious, but always there for the rest of our lives. Israel is deliberately and unashamedly imposing inhumane conditions on civilians in the occupied Palestinian territory. For more than 10 weeks, nothing has entered Gaza, no food, medicine, water, or tents. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians have again been forcibly displaced and confined into ever-shrinking spaces, as 70% of Gaza's territory is either within Israeli militarized zones or under displacement orders. We have life-saving supplies ready now at the borders. We can save hundreds of thousands of survivors. We have rigorous mechanisms to ensure our aid gets to civilians and not to Hamas. But Israel denies us access, placing the objective of depopulating Gaza before the lives of civilians. So for those killed and those whose voices are silenced, what more evidence do you need now? Will you act decisively to prevent genocide and to ensure respect for international humanitarian law? Or will you say instead that we did all we could?
So for those of you who are listening, for the benefit of my listeners, that was Tom Fletcher, the UN relief chief, addressing the United Nations this week. Michael Freeman, or Ambassador Freeman, if I may ask you, would Tom Fletcher be correct when he said you care more about the depopulation of Gaza than actually ensuring that human beings like you and I are able to feed on a daily basis?
First, is absolutely deny everything that he says. He's talking, unfortunately, he's not based on reality. It's not based on fact. For him to make a claim that they have mechanisms to stop the aid going to Hamas, well, they didn't do that for the last year and a half. All the aid was going to Hamas.
How do you know that?
Unfortunately, well, what do you mean? How do we know? Because Hamas have openly shown it.
Where did they show it?
Hold on a second. Every time the aid went in, Hamas took the aid and sat on top of the trucks. Armed gunmen were on top of the trucks and took it in and hijacked it. No one is disputing. There is nobody disputing. Even Tom Fletcher was not disputing that it was going to Hamas. His claim was that now all of a sudden they have a mechanism that it won't go to Hamas. Well, if this mechanism existed, what on earth was going on for the last year and a half? Why weren't they using that mechanism? So I have to take everything that's being said there with a very large pinch of salt, because for a year and a half, that wasn't what was going on. And if you ask me, do I care about the population? Absolutely, I care about the population. I would ask the world, when Mr. Fletcher was speaking there, it's very easy. If you want the aid to go in, and if you want this all to stop, release the hostages, lay down your arms. Why is it that the expectation is that Israel is the one that has to have all of this pressure put on it, when it's very simple? release the hostages, lay down your arms, and this is all over. Israel does not want to be in Gaza. Israel was not in Gaza before the 7th of October. As soon as Hamas release the hostages, lay down their arms, it's all over. That's where the pressure needs to be. That's where the pressure needs to go. And if we want to talk about, if we really want to talk about starvation, then let's talk about the Israeli hostages that are being held, that are being starved. We heard this week from Edan Alexander, the latest who managed to be released, that he said that he was kept with a bag on his head, was beaten on a daily basis, and was given no food whatsoever. We heard from Eli Sharabi. He lost over half his body weight. The 6 hostages that we found, their bodies, they weighed less than 30 kilos when their bodies were found. So if we're going to talk about starvation, well, let's talk about Hamas deliberately starving, torturing and beating the hostages that they are holding. And again, if we want this to be over, where's the question to Hamas? Release the hostages, lay down your arms, it's over.
Okay, 2 things. One, I watched not Eden Alexandra, I watched the full, complete interview with the other gentleman you mentioned. And what he said, Ellis, thank you. What he said was they would share food. Right? He said they would get pita bread and they would share it. He talked about how permit me. I did not interrupt you, Ambassador. The hostages would share it. Of course, he said they would share the food. What he also said is every time Israel made Israel made a speech outside that was not good for Palestinians, they would get punished. It's a long interview and I'm trying to remember some of it, but that's just the ones that come to my head immediately. Now, of course, it was a horrible situation that he was kept in. He talked about being in a tunnel. He talked about the fear that they went through. He talked about the fact that they were tied down. Nobody is disputing that because indeed we can't. We're all humans after all. But however, you said something earlier. You said that Hamas put it on a video. Where is that video, please? Where would we find that video you're talking about? You said Hamas goes on a truck and they will put the food on a truck and they did a video and pictures of it. Where would we see that?
If you go online, I'll send you straight after this some links to videos of Hamas terrorists taking trucks and being on the top of trucks. Hamas gunmen. It's widely put out there. It's widely produced. There's no, again, Mr. Fletcher, when he was talking at the United Nations, wasn't denying it. In fact, he was admitting it. He said, we now have mechanisms to stop it getting to Hamas.
No, he said we have mechanism because Israel has constantly accused the UN. Indeed, every single Israeli spokesperson, ambassador, they accuse the UN of actually supplying foods to Hamas.
But would you, absolutely, but would you accept that if it wasn't going to Hamas, he would have been able to say very easily, none of the aid goes to Hamas?
They have said that before. They have actually said that. No, he didn't. He may not, but they have said that before.
I'm not going to get into an argument. The reality is this: that the aid was going to Hamas. Hamas admitted it. We've seen the video of it. We know that's what's going on.
Okay, so let's even accept what you're saying, that the aid was going to Hamas. All right, isn't that collective punishment? Is that enough justification to stop the rest of Gaza, especially children, women, pregnant women, old people, from getting access to food? Indeed, I remember seeing a video this week, and I've seen plenty of videos, which is why I'm asking you where that video of Hamas is, because I actually follow you on Twitter, and I noticed it's not on your Twitter handle. Perhaps that's just an oversight. But in any event, let me go back to what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there was a young boy this week where you see all the children crowded around, the food bank where you have lentil soup and holding the pots. And this particular child always stuck, and he's stuck with a lot of people. This child, when he finally was able to get food, his hands burned because the pot was so hot. Ambassador Freeman, where does collective responsibility to the human collective actually stop and your fight with Hamas ends?
Look, we have no interest and no intention to punish the civilian population of Gaza. As you said, we ensured hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tons of aid were entered into the Gaza Strip. And at this moment, the government has announced that in the coming days, we will have a new mechanism which will be launched, which will allow for aid to come in, which will go directly to the civilian population. We're doing that jointly with the Americans, and we are going to ensure that happens. We have no intention and no interest whatsoever in the civilian population of Gaza suffering. What we want to do is make sure that we get the Hamas terrorists, and we want to make sure that our hostages are released, and released immediately.
Is every civilian in Gaza Hamas?
No, of course not.
Right. So
Hamas
WHO says 57 children have since died from hunger since the blockade. Is the WHO working for Hamas?
Well, I've no way of being able to verify those statistics. No one has any way of verifying those statistics. What we do know
why not?
Is that unfortunately, what we do know is statistics are obviously manipulated, and they've been manipulated over and over again by Hamas and by those people. Again, I would like to see where the World Health Organization are getting those statistics from, because as of now, as far as I'm aware, the only statistics that come out of Gaza are the ones approved by Hamas. There is no independent organization. There is no independent statistician or health organization that operates freely in Gaza. They operate under the auspices of Hamas, under the control of Hamas. And so we have to take everything that's being said there as if it's coming out of the mouths of Hamas. The same Hamas that are holding 58 hostages, the same Hamas on October the 7th came into Israel, massacred civilians, burnt them alive, tortured them, murdered children, raped, tortured.
The rape allegation, you keep saying that, but it's actually Israel is yet to provide any evidence. In fact, your chief... Permit me, please. Permit me, right? In actual fact, one of the lead proponents of that rape allegation, who was actually on the documentary, the name of which I forget right now, the Channel 12 actually going to issue this very documentary show. I don't have to start. Let me go back. Okay, go ahead.
When any woman in the world says that they were raped or they were sexually assaulted, there is a movement called Me Too, which I don't need to tell you about. You know it better than I do.
Yeah.
And the Me Too movement says that we believe women who say that they were raped or they were sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
For some reason, when Israeli women say they were raped or they were sexually assaulted, people don't listen to them. Mm-hmm. When Jewish women say they were raped or sexually assaulted, people don't listen to them. It's a very interesting dynamic that's taking place, that we have to believe any woman unless they're a Jew. And I think that there is something very, very dark, very, very disturbing about that concept, because the United Nations issued a report saying there were clear instances. We have a number of survivors, female survivors, who have said they were sexually assaulted and they were attacked, both those who were in captivity and those came out. And so all of those people who are engaging in October 7th revisionism and October the 7th denial. The Holocaust, it took 60 years before people started denying it and people started coming out with revisionism. For October the 7th denial and revisionism, it started on October the 8th.
Okay.
And so it's something that's very, very disturbing when Israeli and Jewish women say they were raped and everybody says, well, show me the proof, even though there's plenty of proof that's been produced. Well, it doesn't matter, because if the Jews are saying it, we have to deny it.
Well, actually, no. That is not a correct statement, as you rightly said, because permit me to self-reference the other work that I do. I do work with survivors of rape. Just a sidebar. Rami Davidian lied. What he said was women tied to trees, they were raped. He actually said their legs were separated. He then had to close it up so nobody else would see. He said they were burnt with iron rods inserted. Permit me, please. Permit me, please. However, what I will say to you is, and where I agree with you is, those of us who are advocates, we do say we believe survivors. That doesn't mean it doesn't get investigated. So the difference here is that Israel has not permitted or allowed any independent investigation. Indeed, even the UN rep, permit me please, even the UN rep who came to do independent investigation into these rape allegations was actually not able to talk to survivors. So in the end, she left with presume, but I don't want us to lose time on that.
No, but I'm not prepared. I'm sorry. I'm not prepared to let you have the last word on this.
Well,
it's such a serious allegation. It's
go
such
ahead.
a serious allegation.
Go ahead and we'll move on.
Firstly, the United Nations issued a report showing that there was clear evidence of sexual abuse and rape, and I will send you a copy of it. This is not my report. This is a United Nations.
I have read it. It was issued in 2024.
Right, so
around Easter time. I have read it. I have read it.
There's plenty of, right, so then in that case, you've seen there's plenty of evidence. We've also seen seen women come forward who said they've been raped and they've been sexually assaulted. But for some reason, again, it's the Jews. Let's not believe them.
But this is not the case. This is not the case. What has happened consistently is that even, the women that you're talking about, Israel is not able to provide them to meet with the independent UN investigation. But let's move on that. Here's the thing. You mentioned earlier.
There was no independent UN investigation.
Because Israel wouldn't allow it.
So I have a question for you. But I have a question. And this is amazing that we're having this conversation.
Well, we can move on because...
Well, hang on, no, we will do. We will do with this. And I will leave it with a question. You said you work with survivors of rape victims.
Correct.
Okay? Do the United Nations need to come in and check that everybody you're talking to is telling the truth? Or are the local police a good enough reference point? Because when the Israeli police and the Israeli authorities and the Israeli things have provided ample evidence, including photo and forensic and all sorts of different evidence. But of course, you can't trust those damn Israelis. You can't trust those damn Jews. Why would they tell the truth? That's the attitude. And therefore, you have to try and bring in some United Nations people who we know the record of the United Nations, who has more votes against Israel than any other country combined. We want to bring them in because, hey, we can trust them. The reality is this. Women have said it. The police and the investigative authorities have concluded it and have done it. But for some reason, because it's the Israelis, because it's the Jews, we don't want to believe them. So let's move on, because we're not going to agree on this, because quite simply, the Me Too movement stops at Israel for you. I understand that.
No, actually, it doesn't. And I am saying to you that, just like you said earlier, you said Hamas is the one that's given the figures. Nobody can corroborate the figures. There are no independent people or organizations on ground in Gaza. Why won't Israel allow independent journalists in? Why, for instance, can I not go to Gaza under the invitation of the ambassador, the Israeli ambassador of Nigeria, Michael Freeman, the same way you invited me to Israel? Okay, why can't I go to Gaza?
Okay, I'll answer your question very clearly. Firstly, it's outrageous that you would make a comparison between the authorities in Gaza and the state of Israel.
Why?
Israel is I'm going to finish and tell you. Israel is a Western democracy. It has an internationally recognized Supreme Court. It has an internationally recognized judicial system. It has a totally independent judicial system. We have had prime ministers. We have our current prime minister on trial. We have presidents who have been tried and convicted. Every citizen is able to go to court, and the Supreme Court has ruled over and over and over again against authorities. It's totally independent. We have a totally independent judicial system. Hamas is a radical, rabid, extremist terror organization that rapes, murders, and burns alive. There's no comparison between the two, and it's an outrageous suggestion to say the same. It's the same thing as saying, well, listen, we need to compare Boko Haram to the Nigerian state. There's no comparison. It's outrageous to make such a comparison, and therefore it's irrelevant. That's the reason you can't make such a comparison and such a statement, because it just doesn't hold water, and the two things are completely different and two completely different two different situations. One's a Western liberal democracy, one's a radical terror organization that burns people alive.
Right. Okay. Israel is a democracy. That means that there are votes. Hamas, one, they are democratically elected. Boko Haram, that you like to default to are not democratically elected. Indeed, Boko Haram does not actually run any state or any part of Nigeria. So again, false comparison. However, Israel is a democratic state. We'll accept that. Hamas was democratically elected in an election which even every single international observer, including the United States, stated was free and fair. But I'll go back.
When was that election? When was that election?
Well, just because it was some 20 years ago is neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, it isn't.
The Nazis were also elected by a democratic election. The problem is they never had another one afterwards.
Well, incidentally, Benjamin Netanyahu has kept coming back and keeps coming back, and he's back at 2022, and he's also in court. I mean, we can keep going back and forth, round and round. But I'm going back.
You're not seriously making a comparison now between Hamas, who had an election once, and by the way, whilst they may have got a majority of votes, they did not get power democratically. They seized power. The agreement was a power sharing. If we're going to go into facts, was a power sharing agreement. They then seized power by throwing all of the Fatah, the Palestinian Authority people, off the roof of buildings and killing them and murdering them. If we're going to go into details, they had one election in 2007 and never had another election since. Benjamin Netanyahu is the democratically elected leader of Israel and has been elected time and time again. And whether or not you agree with him or you don't agree with him is neither here nor there. He's democratically elected, whether you like it or not. No one can argue that. There is absolutely no accusation that he wasn't democratically elected. We had an election 3.5 years ago. We had before that 4 elections in the space of 2 years. Before that, we had elections. And before that, we had elections. In fact, no election in Israel's history has ever been postponed by war or by anything else.
Right.
Hamas had one election in 2007, never had another vote.
Well, it wasn't Hamas, it was the Palestinian
And anybody
people
who speaks against them, they kill.
Okay, so tell me about the West Bank then. Why then is Israel expanding the settlements in the West Bank? There's no Hamas in the West Bank. Scores of people, Palestinians, have been killed in the West Bank. Okay, in fact, that began pretty much immediately after the ceasefire, which has since been, been dumped. But immediately after the ceasefire, Israel moved into the West Bank and began to actually expand the settlements. They began to displace Palestinians from their home. Why is that okay, Ambassador Freeman? There's no Hamas in the West Bank.
Well, so you have many things that you've said there that are not unfortunately accurate. Firstly, there are Hamas in the West Bank. There are plenty of Hamas. There are plenty of Hamas members in the West Bank. There are plenty of Hamas terror units in the West Bank. We only saw 2 days ago a pregnant woman who was driving with her husband in a car in what you refer to as the West Bank, was shot by a terrorist on her way. She was driving, by the way, on the way to deliver her baby. And she was shot by a terrorist on the way to the hospital to deliver her baby. She was murdered. The baby is currently in hospital, was delivered emergency, and is currently fighting for its life. And Hamas issued a statement saying, we praise the person who did this. This is exactly what we want to see more of in the West Bank. So let's not say there's no terrorism, there's no Hamas in the West Bank. And why are we carrying out operations in the West Bank? We're carrying out the operations in the West Bank for exactly that reason, that there have been numerous terror occasions. Over 40 people have been murdered this year in the West Bank.
How many? Sorry?
Over 40 Israelis have been murdered this year alone. Last year was also a large number that were murdered in the West Bank as well. And so therefore, Israel is carrying out anti-terror raids in order to target those terror organizations and those terror infrastructures that are there. The Palestinian Authority is still ruling. People are still living in their houses. Cities and towns are still going on as they were. But we are carrying out targeted raids against terrorists who want to carry out attacks against Israeli civilians, as we saw.
For the sake of time, let's move on. So, given that what you've said, and pretty much every single Israeli spokesperson, ambassador all over the world has said the same thing, that there is no hunger, there is no famine in Gaza, there's no hunger in Gaza, the food goes to Hamas, Hamas takes it, etc., etc. This week, are you aware that several British members of parliament have actually stood up to talk against Israel? Indeed, MP Freeman actually said he is withdrawing his support for Freeman. Piers Morgan, who I will quote, said, Israel has long since crossed the line of proportionate response to October 7th and is now engaged in deliberately starving Gazan civilians, relentlessly attacking civilian areas, including hospitals, and then lying about it. It is shameful and it has to stop. That was Piers Morgan that I quoted.
Okay, listen. There are lots of. I can quote you dozens of people back. I can quote
Please
you John
do.
Spencer. I can quote you John Spencer. I can quote you Colonel Kemp. I can quote you dozens and dozens of people.
Please quote them.
Palestinians. Hold on a minute. Let me answer. And I respect Piers. I've been interviewed by Piers Morgan in the past, and I respect Piers. He's an excellent journalist. On this issue, I fundamentally disagree with him. I think he's wrong. He's obviously entitled to his opinion in a free society, and I disagree with him and think that he's wrong on this one.
Okay.
And I can give you many reasons why he's wrong. But to throw out a quote by one person.
Well, I can
we
give
want
you
to play that.
So Hamish Falconer, MP, British Minister for Middle East, said immediate and practicable threat to the Palestinians is what Israel is doing.
Let me finish my sentence. I was literally in the middle of a sentence, and what I said was this: Piers Morgan, okay, is absolutely entitled to his opinion, and you have every right to quote to me, Piers Morgan. That's entirely up to you. What I'm saying to you is we can go all day and all night with you quoting me someone, me quoting you someone, you quoting me quoting you. It might be fun for you, it might be fun for me, but it doesn't actually get us anywhere. Okay, to take these people and quote them is not helping. The reality, what needs to happen is we need to end what's going on in Gaza. And the way to do that is to release the hostages and Hamas lay down their weapons. And all of the international pressure and all of the world should be pressing Hamas to stop this and to stop it now. I remind you, there was no need for Hamas on October the 7th to enter Israel, to invade Israel. There was no need for Hamas to murder and massacre. There was no need for Hamas to kidnap 250 hostages. There was no need for them to take them from their beds in the middle of the night, in the middle of the morning. And at every stage, Hamas could have said, here's the hostages, we're laying down our arms, and it's over. It's that simple. This is not complex.
Okay. Yet Hamas was able to speak directly with America and agree the freedom of Eden Alexandra. Why was that? And of course, it is widely reported that Israel was sidelined in that.
Well, I'm sure if you've seen Steve Witkoff's quotes and Adam Boller's, who were the two people who negotiated that, they were both very, very clear that this wouldn't have happened without Prime Minister Netanyahu and without Israel. So, when we talk about sidelining, I think that sometimes what you hear in the press and what you see publicly is not necessarily what happens privately. And also, it's very clear that both Steve Witkoff and Adam Boller were very clear that without Israeli military pressure, it wouldn't have mattered what was going on, that the military pressure was a significant and major factor in making sure that he was released. So again, if we're gonna talk about that, then let's put the whole context there.
Okay, so Prime Minister Netanyahu wants to actually, he did say they are calling back Israeli reservists, and they intend on invading Gaza for what purpose, if I may ask? What is the objective?
We've been very clear to finish Hamas once and for all.
And how do you propose to do that? 19 months on, you have not finished Hamas. How do you propose to do that and ensure the lives of civilians?
Well, we will do everything we can in order to protect the lives of civilians. But
Israel hasn't done that so far.
Well,
there are bombs and drones.
Okay, but this
morning, over 100 people were killed.
Okay, so firstly, we don't know the identities of those. And again, the 100 people killed is again from Hamas figures and not from any independent figures. And secondly, we don't know the identity of those people killed. A significant number of them, the vast majority may be people, may well be terrorists. We don't know. But I would say to you the following thing. War is terrible.
Yes, it
War is horrific. Mm-hmm. War is shocking. Mm-hmm. War is absolutely terrible. But, you know, there is a misconception, I think, that we have. Most wars do not end in a ceasefire where people start talking to each other. Most wars end where one side wins and one side loses. And if we don't want there to be another war, one side needs to win and one side needs to lose. I know there are people out there who think that Hamas should win and Israel should be destroyed and all the Jews should be killed. But we're not going to allow that. We are going to be very clear. We are going to win this war. And we are going to win this war by destroying Hamas and making sure that they can never, ever do October the 7th again. The reason there have been so many rounds of these wars is because Hamas have not been defeated.
Right.
We have to defeat them this time.
Okay, in the interest of time, I have to interrupt you. I have to begin to interrupt you.
If Hamas will lay down their arms, if Hamas will lay down their arms and release the hostages, this will be over without another shot being fired.
Okay. So how about you try this? You said Israel wants peace. Israel doesn't want Hamas again. Israel wants to be able to live peacefully with its neighbors. Now, why not give the Palestinians their freedom?
Well, firstly, we've on numerous occasions.
Well, okay, that's then. Why not give them their freedom now?
When you say the Palestinians, so what we would go to Hamas and give.
Well, it doesn't have to be a mass. It can be done through the United Nations. It can be done through the United States. Let's even put Hamas as that. Actually, let me just come back to you. Hamas has said consistently that they are ready to walk away from Gaza and not be involved as long as Israel ends this war. So whilst you can keep going on about Hamas, that is what Hamas is saying. What I am saying to you, Ambassador Freeman, is if Israel wants peace, if Israel wants to live peacefully with his neighbors, if Israel cares about the children that are being killed, if Israel cares about the fact that there's a genocide that is now some 55,000, the majority of which is women and children, and you really want to get rid of Hamas? No. You really want to get rid of Hamas? Why not give the Palestinians? It's always accusations, but there are all facts out there. Why not give? The question is, why not give the Palestinians their freedom? Okay, nobody here would support Israel not existing.
Okay, so can I actually answer, and let me answer fully, and I'll answer.
I'll give you a minute though, because you take up my time. But go ahead.
Well, with the greatest of respect, you asked me onto the program to interview me. So if that's the case, let me at least answer.
Yeah, but please go ahead. You know I don't like to interrupt you. I'm just worried. Time is going.
I'll say to you that. Okay, so I'll say, but it's important we get some very basic facts out there. You said that there's a genocide. There's no genocide. It's an outrageous accusation. There is no genocide going on. It's an outrageous and disgusting accusation to say to Israel. You then said that 55,000 have been killed, according to Hamas's own statistics, not mine. And I will send you the links afterwards. According to Hamas's own statistics, 72% of all of the people killed have been males of fighting age. That's Hamas's statistics, not mine. And you know I don't believe anything that Hamas says. But Hamas's own statistics say 72% are males of fighting age. So let's put that into that context. You asked me about the future for the Palestinians. My first simple question, you said no one would say that Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Well, Hamas say exactly that. Their constitution, their charter is explicit. It is absolutely clear. It says there can be no compromise and Israel must be destroyed. So my question is, as a simple yes, no, and then I can move on. Do you think Hamas has any role to play and should exist?
Well, I've just said to you, Hamas have said they will not play a role in Gaza.
That wasn't my question.
No, that is my question. That is my response. And I asked the questions, even though I'm giving you the respect of answering the question. I have said it to you. What you're asking has already been answered. But I'm not the one that's here to answer the question.
Here's the problem.
Let's go back. But hold on.
I will about the Palestinians.
Ambassador,
I will ask you about the Palestinians now.
Okay, the freedom. Go ahead.
Yeah, the answer is this. Whilst Hamas exists, there can be no possible way of going forward. Hamas believes in my death. They want to kill me. They want to kill my children. And they want to kill every single person, if Israeli, alive. And they want Israel wiped out off the map. And if you listen to Hamas and read their charter and read what they say, and then you've seen it. They've written it in black and white. There is no compromise. They believe that we must die and that Israel must be wiped off the face of the earth. There's no compromise to be had there. There is no conversation to be had there. Anyone who wants to see peace, must want to see the end of Hamas. And once Hamas has gone, and once we see a leadership on the Palestinian side that stands up and is very clear that they want to live in peace with Israel and recognize the right of the Jewish people to return to their land of 3,000 years ago, and that we have, as the indigenous people there, have the right to live there, then there's a conversation to be had with the Palestinians about living together in peace. Remember,
so is Mahmoud Abbas? No, I've got to interrupt you because time is going. Is Mahmoud Abbas then not pro-Israel? Because he's certainly not pro-Hamas, and Mahmoud Abbas is the one that governs in the West Bank. And I am saying to you, Ambassador Freeman,
Mahmoud Abbas has never condemned October the 7th.
But he condemned Hamas. He condemned Hamas just last week.
Great, but he has never condemned. He's never. Let me ask you a serious. This is a serious question.
Well, it's not for me to answer.
Play our roles. No, but it's a rhetorical question. Then.
Okay,
but we
go
can
ahead.
both play our. We can both play our roles and we can enter into it. But if we're really genuinely interested in trying to look towards some sort of answers and some sort of solutions and some sort of better future, if you were an Israeli who on October the 7th witnessed what had happened, and then somebody said to you, look, the answer is to give the Palestinians a state right next to you. And I remind you, we left Gaza in 2005. The only people in Gaza from 2005 onwards were Palestinians.
Whilst you remained in control.
One second. Well, so did Egypt, but we've conveniently forgotten that. But 2000 and 2000
Egypt controlled their border. Israel controlled
the border.
What the Palestinians did.
No, we didn't. We only controlled the border. The same.
Yes, you did. They have to get permission to go out of Gaza. They have to get permission to go on a doctor's
Not from us to go out through Rafah, through Egypt.
No, I'm not talking about Rafah. I am talking about just to go to the West Bank.
Well, hang on a minute. Anybody who wants to travel through a country, if you want to go and visit Israel tomorrow, you need our permission. If I want to visit Nigeria tomorrow, I need Nigeria's permission.
Is the West Bank Israel?
If I want to go... if I want to go, but they need to go through Israel. Israel is on the way. In order to get from Gaza to the West Bank, you have to go through Israel, and Israel has to give you permission. They could have gone, by the way, to Egypt, from Egypt to Jordan, and then gone in another way. And that's another way of going. They would have had to ask Egypt for permission, but they didn't give them permission either. There's a pattern emerging. So what I'm saying to you is, if you are an Israeli and wants to see a better future, and wants to see a better future with your partner, with Palestinians, and see them in some way, and you say, well, look, what happened on October the 7th, here we have people coming in, and the person you're asking me to be a partner with won't condemn it. Can you imagine if October the 8th, Mahmoud Abbas, who you talk about, the leader of the Palestinian Authority,
I need to
would have
rush
stood up
you.
and said, but I'm giving you your answer, would have stood up and said, what happened yesterday was disgusting, it's outrageous, it cannot be acceptable in any way whatsoever. I condemn it, and we have to live peacefully with our partners in Israel. They're not going anywhere, let's have peace. What do you think would have happened? But he didn't. He stood up and refused to condemn.
Yet, it is Mahmoud Abbas that Israel works with. But let's go back. I need to actually open the lines. Gosh, we've run out of time. The lines are going, sorry. 0201-277-0993. In fact, before I could read the numbers out, they're already calling. Right, people, you only get 30 seconds, please. We're almost out of time. You know how it is. Hello. Good evening, Emmanuel. Very quickly, please. Short.
I want to rephrase a question you asked, that are there Palestinians who are not Hamas. But I want to ask the question this way. Are there innocent people in Gaza?
Thank you.
And in completing that question, I want to ask, are there innocent people in Israel?
Thank you. Okay, 1 second, Ambassador. Hello.
Hi, Cecilia.
Good afternoon. Good evening.
Again.
Yes, good evening.
So what
30
I want
seconds.
to say is this. I can understand the tempers flaring right now, but rather than be evasive of your questions, I would appeal to the ambassador to please answer your questions.
Which of them?
If tables were to turn and you had the other ambassador, the Palestinian ambassador, I'm sure you'd be fielding the same questions too. So does it not bother the ambassador that for every time there's a ceasefire, Israel always breaches it and scores of people, bodies, men, women, and children, I don't know, human beings, they end up dead. So these killings, I reiterate, when will these killings ever stop? When exactly? That's the question.
That's the question. Right, 1 second, Ambassador. Just the lines are gone. Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You need to hurry up. 30 seconds, please. I can't hear you properly. You need to speak up, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Becca is my name from Satellite Town.
Go ahead.
All right. In the wake of Part 7, the responsible government would have kept quiet.
Oh, the line is really bad. Sorry, Inka. Call back. We're literally struggling to hear you. Hello? Hello, turn off your radio. Yes, you have 10 seconds. Please go ahead.
Okay, Cecile, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, my name is Max. I'm calling from Ikoyi. I have listened to your program very attentively. I do think that your line of questions to the ambassador were very unfair.
Go ahead.
You were literally attacking him. You were literally attacking him at every corner, and you were putting out a lot of false narrative. So I sent you a text, actually telling that
I don't have it.
It looks like you are.
Did we get
it looks
a text?
like you. Yeah, it looks like you are a pro-Hamas propagandist, more or less, because all your narratives basically were that you seem to have a problem with the Israeli government or with Israel itself.
Okay.
It's not right. Let us, if we want peace in the Middle East, I think it is high time we say the truth. If Hamas want this war to end, let them release the hostages. Simple. Okay. Release the hostages and this war will end. Everybody will turn against Netanyahu if he does not stop the war, if Hamas releases the hostages.
Thank you.
Please, let us just say the facts. Thank you.
I deliberately let you use 1 minute so people don't think that I cut you off. Let me come to this call. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon. Good afternoon. What's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
Yes, my name is Nathaniel. I'm calling from Lekki.
Nathaniel, you literally have 20 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, I really want to thank you for that very thorough interview. I've been listening and following up. But in as much as I don't support terrorism or, genocide or killing of any kind, I think Israel have given the Hamas conditions. If they really, so ending the war now is not in the hands of Israel, it's in the hands of the Hamas. If they can release these people, if they really care for lives, okay, then they should release them. There's no way there will be a war and you will have casualty of innocent victims. And I think that's the reason why you have killings of children, some children or civilians involved. But then I don't support it. So Hamas, release these people and let this war end.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. I have WhatsApp message. Ambassador, are you still there? The lines are going crazy.
I am.
Sorry.
I'm
so sorry. I can't
I can answer all the questions in 20 seconds.
Yes. Okay. Let me just answer this. 1 second. I'll answer this. I'll sneak it in quickly. Sorry. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, thank you, Sister. Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
My question to the ambassador. The last time he was here, I asked him about Iranian nuclear deal with America. Now they are on the third stage now, about to meet third time now. What is his opinion on that? Then number two.
Oh, you can't do two questions, Titilok. I don't have the time, and the ambassador is going to have to go soon. God bless you. Go ahead, Ambassador. You said you can answer all of those in 2 minutes.
Yep.
I plead with you too.
Very quickly, are there innocents on Palestinians and are there innocents Israelis? Of course. The vast majority are innocents. The vast majority want this war to end. It is the innocents in the Palestinians that are being held hostage by Hamas as much as anybody else. Hamas is terrible for the Palestinians in Gaza, and so we need to get rid of them as well. The second question was I've forgotten the second question.
Well, Mrs. Oboli, who said, when will this war end?
And so I would say to her, refer to the questions your callers number 3 and 4. When Hamas released the hostages, when Hamas lay down their arms, the war is over. We do not want to be in Gaza. We have no territorial desire over Gaza. I remind you, and the other one was, why is it that Israel always breaks the ceasefire? Israel doesn't break the ceasefire. Israel doesn't break the ceasefire. October the 6th at 6:20, October the 7th at 6:28 in the morning, there was a ceasefire. I think we all know who broke the ceasefire on October at 6:29 on October the 7th.
Okay.
Hamas, by sending thousands of fighters across the border to murder, rape, massacre, burn, and torture and kidnap.
Okay, right. I have a WhatsApp message here. It says there have been growing protests by Israeli families of hostages accusing Netanyahu of prolonging the war for political survivals. The hostages are a convenient excuse for Prime Minister Netanyahu. Would you agree? Please wait 1 second. And I'm trying to see if we can extend this thing by 5 minutes. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
Hello?
Yes, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
It's me, Emeka from Salata. My line was not very clear.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Hello? Yes,
go ahead,
in the
please.
wake of October 7th, of that senseless attack, no responsible government would have kept quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Israelis have done everything possible to secure the release of the hostage. And like one caller mentioned, if the Palestinians are really interested in peace, they should compel Hamas to release the remaining captives, the remaining hostages, and lay down their arms. No government will tolerate terrorism within its borders.
Thank you very much. Right. Oh, gosh. The lines are crazy. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. I need you to turn off your phone, please. Turn off your radio.
It's off.
Go ahead. Very quickly. You have...
Yes, this is the one of Odobolu.
Go ahead.
The issue of the children there, I watched them in television yesterday. I saw that there is no organization in giving them food, even water. Many are dying in that area. Many are dying in the place of collecting the food. I don't know how they are heartless.
Thank you.
What are they doing?
Thank you. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Can I ask a question, please, Ireti?
Oh yes. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Ramsey.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Ireti. Good afternoon. I really appreciate what you are doing for telling the truth to the whole world. The question is, every single someone who's under occupation look for freedom. If really the occupation who call Israel today in this world want give the freedom to the Palestinians, why they cannot stop this war? And why all these settlers, including your speaker who came from Europe, not to go back to where he come from? We as a Palestinians, we look for freedom. We want our freedom. We want to stop this war. Why can't Israel stop this war and stop lies to the whole world? Thank
you very much. Okay, hello. Hello.
Hello. Do you want me to answer?
No, sorry. Yeah, 1 second. Don't worry. I've gotten like 2 minutes extension.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you please? I need you to speak into your phone. You sound distant. Speak into your phone.
Some months, are they Palestinians or they are from outside? You said that Hamas are ready to leave. Does it mean that Hamas are from outside? Are they from outside? If that is the case, no country will allow.
Hamas are Palestinians. They are actually the government they are the democratically elected government in Gaza. Is that what your question is?
But are they happy that?
Well, I don't know whether they're happy. You'll have to ask them that. Okay, Ambassador, over to you. I can't answer for who's happy and who's not.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ambassador, over to you.
I think what we heard a minute ago was the crux of the entire conflict in one moment. The gentleman who called in and said, "Go back to where you came from," when he was talking to me. I come from Israel. I don't come from Israel. I may not have been born there, but for 3,000 years, that was the Jewish people's homeland. 2,000 years ago, we were expelled when the Romans destroyed the temple and we were thrown out across Europe, and now we're coming back. Jesus, who I'm sure all of you have heard of, was a Jew. He walked on that land. That was the time. We had independence there from up until the year 70 and the Common Era until 70 AD. The Jews had independence. We were living there. That's our homeland. And when you hear from somebody who says, go back to where you came from, you have no right to be here, that's the crux of the issue. That's the crux of this entire conflict.
I have to stop you. We're going. We have to go. It's 5 o'clock. Unfortunately, you know how it is, Ambassador. You come
I
here.
understand that, but this is the
it's the news. They're going to cut us off. The news is at 5. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
You will be back.
We'll address that issue.
Absolutely.
That issue is the critical issue.
Okay.
That's the issue. The issue is that they do not accept my right to be there, and that's why there can't be peace until they accept my right to be in Israel. Until
Thank you very much.
The right of the Jews to have a land.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Michael Freeman, who has been on this show many, many times. We thank you for joining us again. Right, we'll be right back, people. Yvonne is here with the news, and I'm eating 40 seconds into her time.
99.3 Nigeria Info. 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.